backyard that's doing a lot of innovative things in the area, state-of-the-art production campus. General Motors has been here for a long time, you know, with the EV vehicles and all the things that they're doing over there. The UT Ag Center, we've had really great strides in innovation through agriculture in the area, which a lot of people don't know about. And of course, our everyday small business owners are implementing innovative strategies every day that you may or may not know or see. So we wanted to really focus on it with this speaker series event. So that's what we're doing with this, and we appreciate you being here. TED Style Talks are so much fun. I don't know if you're all familiar with it, but it's really great, eye-catching ideas that hopefully leave you inspired throughout the rest of the week and the month and the years to come. So that's what we're doing here today. I want to bring up Nathaniel. He is with Premier Design Build, and they are a sponsor of this event. So Nathaniel's going to share a few words with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, February 8th, 2022. So about 2.5 years ago, a little bit more than that. I was stepping into a meeting. It was an executive peer group, and kind of a tight, formal bunch. A little bit smaller than this group here today. There's maybe about a dozen of us at that. And in walks Mickey Williams. Now, Mickey Williams was not who I was kind of used to at these things. She was kind of, how do I describe her? She's like a Dolly Parton inspired Floridian that's loud, like just loud. Like she's got more cleavage than I was comfortable for somebody that's like my mom's age. But she's like owning it, right? And Mickey came in and she's loud, and she took us through some talking points. She took us through some training on public speaking. And what's amazing about Mickey is I can think of all of these things that I've gone to over the years, and for the most part, most things like this, like I always take notes, right? Like I always take notes. I'm listening, I'm engaging, I'm good at being present, but for the most part, if I look at like how many of these I've been to over the last 43 years, then it's quite a bit. And most of those I don't remember. Like the vast majority I don't remember. Mickey got me. Like I actually still remember a specific point that she gave me and actually use it. And those kind of work together, right? Because I actually remember it, I actually use it, because I actually use it, I actually remember it. So what was her point? She was a public speaking coach. And I'm like, I'm comfortable enough with public speaking. I don't love it, I don't hate it. Like I'm very medium on a lot of things in life, but in public speaking is one of those. But the trick that she told us is don't get up there and say who you are. Nobody cares. Like don't say what you do. Nobody cares. And she gave us a couple little tips and tricks on ways to start, but the one that I locked in on was start with a date. Because we're all human, right? Like it brings us into a very different thing. Like, hi, I'm Nathaniel Cooper. I run a construction company. We do commercial construction. That's pretty boring, right? You don't care. It's all true, but you don't care. I get it. But February 8th, 2022, every single person in this room experienced. And in a weird way, whatever all of our sliding doors, different paths of life, all brought us right here, right in this moment, which is kind of insane, like mathematically insane when you really think about that. But like this is the moment we're in, right? So what Mickey was able to do was give me a piece of information, and I'm not gonna say it changed my life, but it gave me a little bit of an incremental improvement. Like, I was a little less nervous coming up here today, because I know no matter what, the few times a year that I have to speak publicly, I'm starting with a date. And I can just go somewhere from there. So the point I'm trying to make here is we all do a lot of these things, and they're good, and we get a lot of information, we take notes, and I do think there's a lot of value in just this moment. And this moment doesn't have to live past today. Like, you don't have to remember anything from today. It's still a net positive. Like, there's a lot of like background learning that we retain that just kind of becomes obvious to us, but that all came from somewhere, and that's okay if that's the result of today. But it could be that Mickey Williams moment. It could be having something that you actually remember 5 years from today, where you're like, man, I I learned this there and I use it. Like, it can be either. Neither is bad, but I will tell you the Mickey Williams moments are better. They really are. So I don't know if you'll have one of those. I hope you do. I hope I have one of those today. But a little bit of conscientious, a little bit of being present will at least give the opportunity for that. So we'll see what happens. I am Nathaniel Cooper. I do run a construction company. We do commercial design build construction. So if you've got an idea and vision and want to talk to one of our architects and come in and put some ideas down on paper, we can do that. And we're really good at it. And because we do design build, we're awesome at hitting timeframes and budgets. Thank you very much.
I never know what Nathaniel's going to say, but it's always a treat. I love it. Okay, so we're getting ready for our first speaker, and we're so thankful that Kate Hickey's here because she does teach at Ravenwood, so she's skipping school right now for us, and then she has to go back. So, but she's the founder of Action Academy. She builds confidence through keynotes and workshops. She's a TEDx speaker. Fun fact, her family was featured on House Hunters International. I saw it because they did live in Spain for a little while. She does teach Spanish. But she's a fantastic author. She's a great writer. She's a lot of great things, but today she's going to share with us her speaking ability. So we're going to have Kate come on up and share with us her speech today.
I'd like to start with a date. 1981, October 11th. That's when I was born. I'd like to tell you all about me. I want to get stuck in straight away, and the first thing I need from you is we're going to work a little bit. I know this is all about innovation. However, today I'm bringing a little less of an innovative idea, and I'm going to bring you really back to the basics, to something that you've forgotten. Before we get stuck in, I'd like you to take a look at the screen, and I want you to pretend like it is a regular Tuesday, it's a regular Wednesday, nothing's really on fire, everything is going as normal as it can be in your week. You don't have anything, that's out of the ordinary. Be honest with yourself. I want you to tell me, you walk into work, you take a seat, what are you doing of these things? Put them in order of the operations that you're going to do for that day. Just take a moment. Okay, share with the person near you the first and last thing on your list. Go. All right, I'm going to stop you. Perfect. I'm hearing lots of varied answers, but I'm going to have you do this one more time. Except this time, you're the parent of a teenager. Sorry about that. And you're going to tell me what you'd like your child to do in order of appearance of an importance. I want you to spend the same amount of time and give me your first and your last with your partner. Go. Can you raise your hand if you picked the red organize your backpack as first item you'd like your child to complete? Okay, great. What about the science vocab cards? Was that first for a lot of us? Okay, great. We're kind of a split audience. we're gonna take a pause. I'm gonna come back to that. This is all gonna come together. My husband and I, every year, do something off of our bucket list. We did this since we very first met each other. Every year, we combine our bucket lists, and every year we take a look and decide whose turn is it. We take turns back and forth, and this is how he got me to marry him. I was not going to marry him. I said, sorry, but I have too many dreams. I have too many things I want to do, and I was 22 and stupid, and I was like, well, I was actually very smart actually to say no. And I said, listen, this is all the stuff I want to do, so I'm sorry, but this is a no for me. And he said, okay. And he went off and later came back and said, okay, I got this plan. Here's my bucket list. Here's yours. And what if every year we do something from your list and my list, and we take turns back and forth? Would this work for you? I said, well, indeed it would. So we got married, and every year we do something. We've run marathons. We moved to Spain. That was quite the ask. I really put him to the test with that one. We lived there for 5 years. I gave a TEDx talk. I've written a book. So all these things came because our marriage and relationship is based off of us helping each other achieve these goals. And I'm showing you this one because I wanted to tell you that and this helicopter is very important for my talk today and for you as well, is that I wanted to fly. I love gardening. I love flowers. I love gardening. And I really wanted to fly over the tulip fields. This was on my list, very high on the list. If you know anything about plants, it's very difficult because the tulips are only in bloom for 3 weeks of the year. This time frame changes. So luckily we were living in Spain, we only were flying 2 hours, but lots of people have to fly 20 hours to make this happen for themselves, right? So we got to go up into this helicopter with my family. I spent the whole time crying, which was pointless, because it's only a 20-minute ride, and I think I spent 15 minutes bawling my eyes out and screaming, and the man's taking off the microphone. So that's okay, I still got to do it, and I have all the pictures. But the point of me sharing this story is because I want you today to get into the helicopter of your practice. And this is something that we don't do often enough. So this is the opposite of innovation because I'm taking you back down to the basics. I want you to zoom out of your life and of your world and of your business. And I want you to take a look at your business from a helicopter vantage point. And so today we're going to talk about what we can do when we're up in the helicopter and some of the things that we're doing repetitively that we need to change. And we're taking a look at ourselves from this, from 30,000 feet. I made that up. Is 30,000 feet really high? Or is that very low? That's quite high. Well, there we are. That's where we are. My goal for you, what's her name? Mickey? This is your Mickey moment. Ready? Writing it down?
I'm ready.
Don't be so busy working in your business, you leave no time to work on your business. Can you relate to me saying that to you? Right? It's so easy to be in the calls and the emails, in the day-to-day, in the grind, that we haven't taken time to get into our helicopter and take a look as to, am I even going in the right direction? Have I taken a pause? Could this be processed? Could this be put in a manual? Probably. Am I the best person to do this? Am I the best person to do this? Right? So that's what we're focusing on for this talk. And I want you to walk away with some ideas of how you can take a look a little bit more in your helicopter and less down into the tulips. So here's some temptations to being a taskmaster. It feels good. Are you the person that has a list? I'm a list person, massive list person. In fact, I did something yesterday where I had already done the task. I wrote it down so I could cross it off. Let's go. Because there's science, there's brain science behind this. I love, have you read Atomic Habits by, I believe his name is James Clear? It's fabulous. It's a fabulous book. We get serotonin hit whenever we do these things, whenever we take something off of our list, and so it feels good for us, like getting a task done. We also stay in a taskmaster. It's easier than deep work. It just is. It's why you don't want to paint your room. You'd rather just put the laundry away. Because you got to pull the couch out, who knows what's behind there, you got to patch, you got to dry, you got all the things that Premier Design and Build can do for you. So, also tasks are quick. We can get in and out and be finished. Tasks don't lead to more work, and that's something that we're nervous about, getting stuck into something because we know that it's now going to lead into all of these other things, and we're just not prepared for moving the couch and the dusting and the painting and the drying, etc. And also our tasks can be interrupted. And we expect that we're gonna be interrupted, and we kind of prep ourselves for that, so we stay in those bitty things, I call them, instead of doing some of that larger, deeper work. The reality is anyone a heart surgeon? Perfect. So the reality is we're not hired, and you are not a specialist in email answering. Nobody hired you and like, whoa, you're a great emailer. Nobody. Your unique talents and skill set is because you can do the deep thinking and the bigger work, and you understand the bigger picture. You've been in that vertical for a long time. So that's where you need to stay. But don't you find yourself in a taskmaster position instead of where you were hired, which was to have these great ideas. You are meant to do the deep work. Anyone can do tasks. We can hire other people to do some of these tasks, but we get stuck in them because we've told ourselves that we're the only person that can do it. Deep work is also where change and growth are. This is where your differentiation comes in. This is you future planning your business as well. And no one else can do that but you. You're the specialist in that area. Systems and efficiency are built whenever we do the deeper work. If we would get into our helicopter, we would see a lot of things where we can change. So, those are our temptations. This is also something that I think we fall a little bit victim to. If you think about your inbox, that is everybody else's to-do list. How much is it? What time? When can you do this? What's the time frame? That's everybody else's stuff that's now been tossed your way. So when we get into this habit of realizing, oh, wait a minute, no one's gonna judge me if I don't email this person immediately back. No one's gonna think, oh my gosh, you're terrible at your job, or you're incapable. I think we get stuck in that trap because it's just what we're used to. It's just our muscle memory, like, let me get him his answer. Guess what? He'll be fine without the answer today. Again, none of us are heart surgeons. So 24 hours is not gonna kill anybody. And I don't know if you've ever been on a vacation and then came back and you're like, well, hot dog, everything's fine. Everything's fine. It's true. And I think we think, and we put ourselves maybe on a pedestal of like, I have to do this, I'm the person. Are you? Because you went on vacation to Cabo and everything was fine. So here are some traps that we get stuck into. There's 4 traps. I want you to try to find yourself in this. The first one is the busy trap. I don't know if you can see this, but it says, mate, not now. Can't you see I'm busy? And the other poor kid's got a roller for the paint. And I think sometimes we're so busy painting with the brush that we're like, I can't right now. I'm too busy. And here's somebody with a roller with a better idea. The second one is me. This is me, the optimism trap, for sure. I'm an optimistic person. Every Monday, I'm like, all right, this week, this is my week. I'm doing this, and I've got this, and I'm going to call this, and I've got a whole list of all the things I'm going to get done. And then reality hits, right? It's like the mountain is the budget, the dip is the kid's sick, the other mountain is the other person who's no longer figured this out or not replying, etc., not as easy to work with. The optimism trap is a situation where we keep setting ourselves up over and over again for disappointment because we go, why couldn't I get all this done? Well, because you set yourself up from the beginning to be trapped. The other 2 are the capability trap. Just because you can doesn't mean you should always. That's not the best use of your time for you to do that. You're the expert, as we spoke about. Task switching trap. This one is very easy. I don't know if you've ever been on a phone call or you've been on a call, Zoom, and you're zoning out and you're like, wait a minute, I gotta get my niece this birthday present. Real quick, you've opened up the tab to go do it, and then you need it on the call. Oh yeah, Jim, we'll get that right away. Oh, wait, why do I have this open? Why did I open? Oh yeah, I gotta get that. Your brain takes 20 minutes for you to get stuck into something and stay there. So the more that you shift, the more that you're doing multiple things terribly, and you're wasting your time and your energy, because your energy is now spent in the switch. Ooh, I'm very excited. Your energy is spent in the switching of things as opposed to getting stuck in, staying there, and getting it done and closing a loop. So talk to me for a second. What trap are you in? You have 4 choices. I'll review. Busy trap. optimism trap. Capability and task switching. Tell your person what trap you're in. Go. Great, and now forget it. What do you do when just by the nature of Okay, I'm going to stop you for a second. Anyone have an aha moment that they want to share? I can wait for somebody. Anybody that wants to say anything? Or just a unlock for you. Yes?
The one that I try to stay away from as much as possible and that gets thrown up there all the time is the busy trap. Yeah. Everybody's so busy, they want to be perceived as busy, so everything I'm doing is so much more important than what you're bringing me. It's painful for me.
Yeah.
I never want to say it, I don't want to hear it.
I realize it's a part of our culture as Americans. I didn't realize that until I lived in Spain for 5 years. I've been back for a year now. But it's something that I really notice about our culture as Americans is how much can we trump your busyness and your tiredness. We're Spaniards, they don't ask, the first question we ask as American when you meet someone, what do you ask? First question, besides the name, which you've immediately forgotten. Was it? How are you? Okay, the next question. You're just nice. What do you do? It's the first question we ask. In Spain, they do not ask you what you do. Nobody cares about your job because they don't care about work. It's also the reason I'm back. So it's a little bit of it's something that I think is beautiful about our culture. We're hardworking, and it's the reason that the American dream exists. It's also something that we have too much of. That was my experience. Again, this is me and I'm generalizing, but I find that is kind of the trap that we've created, right, by leading over conversation with, and what do you do for work? Well, I want to say, well, I inspire people, or I love children because I'm a teacher and I love children, and I love my own children, but that doesn't seem to cut the mustard. That was an aside, sorry, but thank you for that because I think it's so true. So for too busy, it's kind of a sign for us to slow down, all right? I think you know that, but organize and systemize your work. We say that we do this, but realistically, what's your system? And there's something from Atomic Habits that I love. And he says that we appear to feel stress because a lot of times our brain, whether it's a task like buy my mom a birthday present or finish up a super important presentation, if we have these swirling in our mind, we perceive this as I'm stressed. Realistically, the brain science says that if you put that into a system, you get it out of here, and you just put it into a system, that your stress level is dramatically reduced because you've systemized it, and now you trust yourself to use your system and take care of the tasks. Optimism trap. Build in time for interruptions. If you think it's going to take you 3 days, you're a liar. It's taken you 5. So just outline to yourself about the timeline. Don't set yourself up for failure and focus on just 3 things. We used to have meetings where I worked previously, and we would say, what are your 3 things this week? You couldn't talk about anything less. In fact, it would be encouraged to just talk about 2. What are your 3 things that you're focusing on this week? That's it. I think we tend to, and there's this and there's that, and just staying really laser focused on those 3 things. The capability trap is all about delegation and saying to people, hey, listen, I'm happy to do this for you. I do want to tell you that's going to push this deadline to X months. I'm happy to take on that work. Thank you for thinking of me. This means that this will not be done to your expectations, but we can't have it all. And communicating that up front. And then the task switching is closing loops completely and stop, dabbling, but really making yourself be laser focused. Turning off our notifications. I don't have email on my phone from work. I found this to be wonderful for me in the balance of my life. Just be on hold. Just be on hold. Just sit there and have a thought. Which is why, when do your great thoughts happen? In the bathroom, right before you go to bed. I'm solving all the world's problems before I sleep. And the reason why is because our brain is quiet. This is when innovation happens. There's a lot of research around innovation happening on walks, in the shower, and before bedtime. No coincidence that all of those are without our phones and when our mind is quiet. So let yourselves just sit there and just be. Batching like tasks, I think that's something that we tend to go, here because you called me, ignore it. Do all your calls together. Get yourself, when you're ready to have that mindset, and do all of the calls together, right? Do all the personal tasks. Give yourself an extra hour of lunch. Get the personal tasks done so you can have that out of the way and you can move on to the next. I like to create a 2-hour email window if you can build that time in. So just say, I'm making the decision to ignore this because I'm picking it up later. Just a reminder. Your time is your most valuable currency. So I think sometimes we're a little bit willy-nilly with how we're giving it away. So I'm just asking you in your helicopter to reflect. If you wrote down all of your time, the way that you're spending your tasks in your week, would you look back and say, this is where my money is. This is what I was hired to do. This is where the ROI is. Or would you say, wow, 8 hours an entire day on meetings that I didn't add value to, that I didn't push back on that meeting and say, Jim, why am I here? Why have you asked me? Why are you inviting me to this meeting? Is my presence needed? A lot of times Jim will say, well, I thought you wanted to be here. And then you say, I indeed don't, Jim. At all. But sometimes just being more of a, what's the word, a viper of your time? Not a Spanish word. Sorry. When you say this, you're more of a, you're strict with your time? Yeah, you're prescriptive. Sorry, I thought a brain fart. So here's how you're going to prioritize the big work. Block off your calendar for 2 hours. And don't call it Kate does deep thinking, because that's the first thing that's going to get interrupted. You're going to call it Operation Kangaroo. I don't know, whatever you're calling it. But nobody's going to mess with this time because they won't understand it, and it's your time. And you have to be a master of not allowing it to be taken by anyone else. Encourage innovation and conversations and feedback. This is where a lot of the deep work happens. But you have to be leading the charge, and you have to be leading by example. None of this staying like the last person to walk out the door games, which is a game, by the way, because you can be on Facebook for 4 of those hours, and that's just a game. Making time for reflection, like I said, pulling up into the helicopter, as we spoke about earlier, and just normalizing email responses, right? And also finding your systems. So this is just a reminder that no matter how efficient we are with our time, with our energy, we're never going to have more free time. We're going to have to make the time for things that really matter to us. Because I think we're thinking, oh, there's an end to this race if I just, when I just finish this project, and that's not coming. That time is not coming. You will not be done with anything because you're hardworking and you're going to do the next thing. So just a friendly reminder that the things that really matter to you, you're going to have to carve out that time, and I suggest carving that time out first. And that is all I have for you today. Yeah. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, ma'am. As always, love it. Don't you wish you could be one of her
Ryan Jackson is our next speaker, and he's the executive director of Kids on Stage. He has been at some of our programming for the chamber in the past. Ryan and I are LMT classmates together, so Leadership Middle Tennessee, shout out right there. And he has been very innovative in his approach to bridging the gap between education and industry. He has been in education for quite a while. Let me find your actual bio here, because I want to make sure people know how old you are, because that's fun for me. 17-year career in public schools, ranging from classroom teacher to executive leadership. He was at Mount Pleasant High School as the executive lead principal most recently, before switching over to the executive director role for Kids on Stage here recently. And he's done TED Talks, so I knew who to call. Always call the experts in, and he's definitely that. So Ryan, come on up and bring your presentation to us.
My name is Dr. Ryan Jackson. I've got about approximately 20 minutes to try to impact your life. But I do want to start out by saying thank you so much to Becca, to the chamber. I live in Spring Hill. So quite honestly, it's touching me in a way that I didn't quite expect, that I really get to give this talk in my community, where my son goes to school, where my wife and I have lived for a number of years. So I'm grateful for that, Becca. Thank you so much. We are LMT alumni, so big shout out to that. That's how we met. I wasn't a big believer in that kind of networking, quite honestly, and here I am, humbled today to stand in front of you because of the opportunity she's given me. So big shout out to LMT. And this stage, this platform, which I've been gracious enough to get an opportunity on, is going to allow us to have a conversation that we just have not been having. Some of it we've talked about. Some of those things we've whispered about. Most of it we have flat out ignored. So I get that opportunity to talk to you today. And, we're going to do quite a bit of talk about empowerment. But before I get to this word, I've got to do one quick norm setting. So I'm a former English teacher. Before that, I was a substitute teacher, later became an assistant principal. I've been in public ed for a long time. But as an English teacher, I was a grammar nerd. I grew up loving to write, wanted to teach kids how to write. So I'm going to give you a prepositional phrase. This is our norm setting right now. Prepositional phrase. In addition to. Go ahead and say it. In addition to. Because you're going to hear me talk about a solution in a little bit that I'm very excited about. A model that I've helped co-create. So I'm going to stand on that model today and hard sell it. And you're going to have in your mind, yeah, but I've seen this other thing, and guess what? In addition to that, I'm presenting this. So that's the norm I just want you to hold when I get into this heavy sell, especially. Because honestly, when we talk about empowerment, the kind of empowerment I'm talking about isn't just giving someone authority. I'm putting you in charge, you are empowered. It's not just giving someone an opportunity. There's an opportunity, go take advantage of it. Now, the kind of empowerment we're going to talk about today is when you nurture a young person's ability to navigate challenges, think critically, problem solve, and last but not least, grow. And in order to help someone do that, and if we're talking about growth, we're talking about helping someone realize their potential, their full capabilities, then it's going to take all of us. And the proverb comes to mind, many hands make light work. Now, I know a little bit about trying to inspire others. I did give a TEDx about 11 years ago. And at this time in my life, I'm working in inner city Nashville, Maplewood High School specifically. Started there as an English teacher, became a dean of students, then an assistant principal, really cut my teeth in generational poverty, inner city Nashville, and I loved it. I got my doctorate from Trevecca. I used that time to create an action research dissertation called the competitive teaching model. It was novel, class versus class competitions, and it was all about fostering this perceived sense of belonging. So a kid felt like they were a part of this class, of this team, they were competing to win, and guess what? It improved their writing scores. Thought it was novel, genius. Baked into that model, the little clip that I have for you here, which you can find on YouTube, Dr. Jackson talks too much. Search for that. But baked into it was feedback. Now at the time, and I'm very explicit about this in the TED Talk, I'm dealing with millennials. That's who I was working with, that generation at the time. And millennials didn't want nebulous feedback. They were done with good job, well done, hooray, the stickers you got in 3rd grade. They didn't want those. They wanted very intentional, specific, personalized feedback. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because ultimately, that's what sustains in that model and where we're about to go. But I am talking about millennials, and that was 11 years ago. So much has changed, right? But let's fast forward a few years then. So now it's 2016. I've rolled the dice and moved from inner city Nashville, along with my family, to rural America, specifically Mount Pleasant, Tennessee. And I can remember, first year on the job, first week of school, here's how I knew my life had changed. Here's how I knew things were going to be different. Inner city Nashville, rural America. So it's first week of school. School starts in August, and it's hot. Man, if you've ever walked on asphalt in August at a school dismissal, it'll melt your face. It's that hot. It's so hot, even in the morning it's hot. So it's August, first week of school, and I'm the type of principal who could never sit at his desk. You can tell, I'm pacing up here today. I couldn't sit at my desk. I got to be out amongst the people. More than that, I love to be in classes, seeing the good work, documenting teachers kicking butt, giving our community this window of access and insight into what we're doing. So I'm doing that on this day. And I make my way outside because we have these CTE programs at our school, and one of them was construction. And his lab was in an annexed building. But more than that, they were building a house. I inherited this. When I got there, they're building this house. So I'm outside walking around, and I turn the corner. There's the house they're building, and it's filled with students. And they're working on this house at like 8:50 in the morning. And it's hot. So I'm in there taking my pictures, and I see the teacher. Met him like officially that day, really. Veteran, legend CTE teacher named Scott Anders. If you've never met him, he's salt of the earth. Before he was a teacher, was a famous songwriter, wrote platinum hits for Alabama. Dude is the real deal. 71 years old, still teaching in public education today. Facts. On this day, his kids are building a house, and Dr. Jackson is standing there flat out mesmerized. So I thank him, congratulate him, fist bumps, taking pictures, all of that. Now later would really be the life-changing moment though. Later, he had 4th block planning, and this would become pattern. He would come see me every day on that planning period. So he comes to me that day, after the fist bumps, after the pictures, after I'm blowing up Twitter with look what we're doing in Mount Pleasant, rural America. He comes to me, and I'll never forget, he's got this in his hand, and he pushes it into my hands. Pushes it into my hands. And he asks me a question, changed my life, certainly for the past several years. But he asked me a poignant question, not realizing that I grew up a red-headed stepchild with a perpetual chip on my shoulder. I had to give you that context. Because what he asked me when he pushes that into my hand is, he says, so what are we going to do about this? Before he gives me this, full disclosure, I had no clue there was a labor shortage gap. I had no clue industries were struggling to get young people into the workforce doing skilled trades. When I say zero clue, I mean -1. I don't know. But he puts this into my hand, and I am immediately fascinated when you start to look at this wide, ever-increasing gap of skilled trade shortages. And I grew up a movie guy, film fanatic, wanted to be a filmmaker, so Terminator pops into my mind. I'm like, wait a second. Look at these numbers, and they're growing by the day. If you start looking into electricians, 8 electrician openings happen every single day, and we're not being able to close them. What are we going to do with that? Now, before I switch real quick, a couple of key things. I do get curious about this, concerned when he gives it to me. But I'm thinking it's 2016 and that number says 2024. In a principal's lifetime, that's dog years. Long time until we're going to get there. 2016, I've got some time. But I did start to think, now wait a second, I grew up in Indiana, the high school during these years. I don't remember much on vocational ed. All right, 10,000 baby boomers retiring a day. Lack of vocational training during my school years. There was the 80s, Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, greed is good, white collar, college. Maybe he's on to something. But I'm still not that concerned because time's on my hands. But then I come across this, and I go from concerned to worried because I'm a narrative guy. I love a story, and I get compelled by this story, by the Te Reo Māori from New Zealand. Now, the Te Reo Māori were being suppressed formally by their education system. Get ready for it, because there was a stigma if you were from that culture, if you spoke that language. Now, if I were to take a Venn diagram and put blue-collar communities and the Te Reo Māori on top of each other and overlaid it, that piece in the middle, cultural stigma, less than. Now go with me here, blue-collar communities. You're not going to college. You're perceived as, well, let's just fill it in for you. We call them dirty jobs. You've heard blue collar. We say six-packs and plumber's cracks. We've done this for over a generation to make communities and people feel less than, ostracized. And I start thinking, okay, the Te Reo Māori, and then they hit me with this stat, this quote that I just have not been able to forget. It takes one generation to lose a language, to lose a skill, and 3 generations to restore it. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you are with young people or even our own collective ability to focus. It's about 20 minutes. I don't think we have 3 generations in us to bring back a skill that we're talking about losing. But let's be candid. What are we talking about? We're talking about extinction. That once we learn the skills of these trades, they are not coming back. And if we do not begin to address it very seriously, out loud, with solutions, they're gone for good. And then where are we? Let's talk about it. I told you I've been in education for 20 years approximately, because the first 2 years on that 17-year list, I did in Metro Nashville as a substitute teacher. So I've been everything from a substitute to an English teacher to a principal, and in that 20 years, I've seen a lot. I've certainly seen great people doing good work. So how are we combating this industry education crisis? Well, we do things like job shadowing. We have work-based learning. We bring in guest speakers. But my favorite, archaic, antiquated, ineffective practice is what this gentleman is doing here. And I don't know this man, but God bless him. It's the coveted career fair. We're gonna, you know what we're gonna do? We're talking about extinction. We're gonna have a career fair. And here's gonna be our strategy at this career fair. It's gonna be our strategy. It's a strategy of hope. Now, I've been in education for a long time, but thankfully the last 3 years, I've really dug into business practices, worked with business leaders, industry professionals, and I'm gonna tell you up front, in business, hope is a bad strategy. But my man right here is hoping, because he's talking to two gentlemen off camera here, two students, he's hoping that by the end of this fair, the business card he gave them, that's this size, has found its way to that student's wallet. Do kids still carry wallets? Don't answer that question. He's hoping that the water bottle that he gave that kid made it into his backpack and makes it home and lives comfortably now in his kitchen. He's hoping that simply by the time this is over, that kid remembers his name, let alone the company that he was with. Strategy of hope. But what if I told you that there was another solution? What if I told you there was something novel on the horizon that was going to hit things like novelty, repetition, association, all things. Big shout out to our friend talking about brain rules, brain work, neurological pieces. All of those are going to hit the hippocampus. All of those are going to help a student retain what they've learned, who they learned it from, why they learned it. What if I told you there's a model where you can connect with students directly, deepening the collaboration, so they're getting personalized feedback from you, and you no longer have to rely on this strategy of hope. And my favorite part, since I'm going to tie it all the way back to empowerment, we talked about helping people realize their potential. If you can't tell by my tone, I'm passionate about helping underdogs, young people, realize their potential. But see, Maslow told us, and we forget this unless you're in education, because they cram this down your throat quite a bit, honestly. Because we've done better in schools at building that perceived sense of belonging. But Maslow told us, until you work your ways up these rungs, you can't reach self-actualization. You can't just be your best. So how can we do that? We can connect and collaborate with kids efficiently, feasibly, scalably, and in turn, I love this rung. Most people forget it. After belonging, we unlock their efficacy. We help students feel more efficacious, which is a fancy way of saying capable. And my friend who's a teacher, anyone who's in education, one of the most powerful statements a student can make to you is, I'll try that. Try to get them to do algebra, please. I'll try that. Pick up a welding torch for the first time. Focus, listen, I'm going to give you instruction. I'll try that. You want to get them there, we've got to get them here. We've got to unlock this for us to have a shot at self-actualization. Introducing friends, KOS collaborates. It is our virtual industry education model that uses an asynchronous proprietary platform that's going to help deepen the connections and scale the number of industries that can impact students at any school you choose. Why? Because for the past 18 months, we've been in partnership with industry leaders like Smelter Service Corporation, working with not only their executive team, their HR director, but also their employees, because they're ESOP now. They're employee-owned, so their employees are looking for ways that they can give back within the context of their company. They're such a forward-thinking company, they're already thinking about their millennial workforce and how they can fill their cup outside of work. Boom, we plug them into this. Now you're impacting young people. And don't forget, who birthed most of Gen Z? Millennials did. So now we've got Smelter Service working with their team to help perfect our model. We partnered with Benchfly and the MIT brains behind that revolutionary company that with the National Science Foundation designed this feedback platform that's already connected schools and students, and delivered 35,000 pieces of feedback from art to welding. We've bundled it up in this package that we call the interstate of engagement, because we've now got industry-sponsored challenges. We've now got student-generated projects impacted by personalized feedback by industry, and it's happening right in our backyard. Let's pull it all together for you really quickly. I took this model, used to work in Murray County Public Schools, so big shout out to them. Took this model after 18 months of tinkering, toying, perfecting, and I sat down with the CTE supervisor, Amy Roberts, and instantly she flashes her brilliance. After hearing the model, she connects it and begins applying it to the new Perkins priorities mandated by the state. What are those, you say? Well, see, the federal government and the state, they've got Perkins funds. These are dedicated, earmarked funds for career and technical education. But with those funds come more accountability, strict protocol. So she's hearing this model, and I can see the gears turning. And she says, I want to apply this model and start impacting our new Perkins priorities. Specifically, Perkins priorities number 1. Are you leveraging innovative CTE models? Box, check. Perkins part 2. Are you engaging stakeholders? Box, check. Perkins part 3. Do you require industry-led projects? Perkins box, check. Are you supporting CTSOs? What are those? And I love this part, so I'm going to dig in for a minute. CTSO are career and technical student organizations. HOSA, Future Farmers of America, DECA, FCCLA, Skills USA. These are awesome organizations that have historically been volunteer-based. You had to come after school to do the program, and it was if you could do it. The state said, no. We're investing too much money in this. These programs will be mandated during the school day. We're expecting 100% participation because some of our kids, just generational poverty, can't get there at this time because they're watching kids after school. You're going to do it during the school day. All kids are going to participate, but they amped it up one other level. Not just participate, now full-on expectation. These CTSOs are going to compete locally, regionally, statewide, national. And what better way to sharpen the saw for a kid who's already anxious about doing this, but meeting them where they are on a platform they're comfortable with and connecting them with an expert who can keep them sharp by personalizing their feedback. My friend who talked about the brain. You know the number 1 word that makes your brain light up the most, hands down? Your own name. So now I've got this expert from industry calling me by my name repeatedly, giving me very specific, practical advice. Can you tell I'm fired up today? So we're connecting Murray County Public Schools, and this footprint begins in earnest right now. We're actually building the 2 most critical points in industry right now, health science and advanced manufacturing. Those boards are being built. We're adding foundational industry partners. We want each of our advisory boards to house about 5 different industry partners. So, advanced manufacturing, smelter service will stand as our foundational partner. And then we just start adding companies. And each one of these companies now has the opportunity to get on the interstate of engagement and start connecting, collaborating with kids and schools. And I'm in here right now. My man's talking construction. We're ready to build that advisory board for you. We're ready to go for research and development, criminal justice, real estate. My man over there, one of the hottest realtors in Tennessee. If you don't know him, that's Alex Plunkett. Shout out to him for supporting me today. My man Tommy Root, small business owner. He's in the house. We can create an advisory board for any industry, and it's scalable, feasible, efficient. It's no longer, hey bro, I'd love to help you, man, but I'm only free on Tuesdays. Dude, I don't even have class on. Gone are those days, man. We're working on a project. I need you to review what they got going on. It's asynchronous. Review it on your timetable. You're going to give them feedback. We've got 3 different modes you can give it to them: touch screen, short answer, and video, personalized feedback. But it's asynchronous, man, so take your time, get it to them. It's not live, so the kids don't stress about it. It comes in a mode they're very familiar with. So finally, friends, and I promise I'm done. If not us, then who? You know, I started off talking about terminate, extinction. It's a crisis, friends. Help us build in your backyard. Help us connect with you. Help us connect you to schools, students, and programs that so desperately need your help. And it's truly an action statement. There's my email address. Grab it if you're interested. Doesn't matter if it's Williamson County, Murray County, Rutherford County. This is a crisis. I've got a scalable solution. We've got a bona fide partnership. It's in play. We're vetted by the National Science Foundation. We would love to work with you, and we would love to help you change the life of a kid. Thank you.
Collaboration is so key. It's a lot of what we do. GM has been a partner of ours forever, and so I'm really thrilled that our next speaker is from General Motors. General Motors has been talked about and discussed in this program throughout the 2 other series that we had. So I think it's appropriate that we end with Isla Wilhelmy. She's the GM Spring Hill Body Shop Area Manager, where they build the Cadillac XT5, Cadillac XT6, and the all-electric Cadillac Lyriq. So she's managed manufacturing operations with 400 plus body shop employees, 1,200 plus robots, performing various material handling, welding, sealer application, and measurement tasks. It's a lot, it's a mouthful. So Isla, please come up and talk to us about GM and the innovative strategies that you implement every day.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
I keep thinking I wish I went first, because after the energy and the presenters that we just had, it's going to be a tall task, because my topic is innovation in manufacturing. And you're going to be hearing it from the engineering and manufacturing space, so I promise to keep the geek factor to a minimum and not to get too much in the weeds. But that is my playpen, that is the space I am, so please bear with me. Nate, thank you for getting in my head. Now I'm afraid to say my name and where I'm working, so I keep thinking, how do I adjust my presentation how to say that? But I gotta go there. So I come to you from the GM Spring Hill manufacturing plant. So this is the largest GM site in North America. So we stretch on the 2,100 acres here in Spring Hill, and we are a complex. So we have everything from the stamping plant, injection molding, body shop, paint shop, GA, you name it. We have a battery assembly cell. We have our joint venture with LG, which is Ultimate Cell Producer. So needless to say, we are a large footprint. And more so, we have a 30-year-old rich history of innovation. So for some of you who are local, we started as Saturn, and now we are the flagship for the GM, because we are the first facility that is capable of producing the EV and ICE products side to side on the same manufacturing line. And if you know anything about manufacturing, being able to do that to back with the same resources and the same equipment, it's quite a feat. And it took us several years to master that. So we've been doing that now for 2 years. And it really puts us in a unique place. And our competencies now that we on a daily basis can adjust our volume mix, EV and ICE, depending on the market demand. Again, if you thought about this 5 years ago, it would be impossibility, but here we are, and we on a daily notice, and I tell you from the body shop, every day I have a different order of ICE and BEV vehicles coming to us. So this is a prime, I would say, a playground to talk about manufacturing, and I would say For GM or any manufacturing business, innovation is a necessity. It is something that is needed for our survival, to stay current, to stay competent. And the one example that I bring to you today, and I'm gonna go very engineering specific and pragmatic example, it's gonna be tied to the area that I work in, and that's the body shop. And quickly, again, for you who don't know, these are the 4 products that we build in our facility. So the Lyric is the first Cadillac entry in the EV space. Then we have a GD Power award-winning XT5, XT6. And also, the last but not least, we are very proud with our partnership with Honda. We are building Honda Acura ZDX, which is Honda's entry into EV space. So they trust our manufacturing know-how and quality performance. So the space, the space that I'm in, and where I spent the last 24 years mostly, is the body shop manufacturing in or around it. For you who don't know what the body shop in a car industry does, we put the metal frame of your car together. And compared to the other portion of manufacturing, the body shop is very technologically intense. So we have the most advanced technologies, the error-proofing, vision cameras, you name it, we have it. And that's why Rebecca said, I always am proud to say we have 1,200 robots. And that's no kidding, 1,200 robots is a lot. And they do various things. They can weld, then we have robots who are sealing, the robots who are just material handlers, moving the parts from station to station. So that is always a cool trigger that I want to bring up. The other part about the body shop, we have a lot of error proofing. And we have a tooling that is designed in a way to build your vehicle in a spectrum of 1 millimeter tolerance. So it requires a lot of clear and good precision tooling to enable us to make the product like that. Another part or another trivia that I want to share with you is when you think about your car, it's held with about 5,000 welds. So we put the 5,000 welds on a car, and there's about 2,000 cubic centimeter of sealer and adhesive that is strategically placed on the different joints to keep the structure of the car sound. The other piece about the body shop is in order for all that magic to happen, you have to insert the loose material into the cell to start joining it together. And for that, we have more than 100 material load stations inside of the body shop. And in our particular case, those 100+ stations are fed by about 360 different part numbers that takes to make those vehicles that you see on the screen. And that is the space I want to talk about material load stations, because that is the area we just recently had innovation that we are excited about, something that we were not able to do in the past, but we can. And why am I telling you about the material load stations, you're going to ask yourself? I think it's a twofold reason. The number one, whether you are a customer of any vehicle, or if you or your family friend find yourself buying a vehicle, I want to highlight what the innovation and the technical advances allow us to produce and deliver the quality of the product. That is a phenomenal side effect in making our manufacturing more repeatable, and with that getting the better quality. So as a customer, you want to know it, you want to care about it, because you are ultimately then the user of the product. The other reason why I want to tell you about it, a lot of business owners here, and maybe if you see something that kind of sparks your curiosity, or maybe something that you may use in your own business just as an idea. So back to the star of my show, material load station. And again, I'm going to keep the geek factor to the minimum, but sometimes I fall into that. Again, 25 years in manufacturing will do that to you. So we have two types of material load stations. The first one is the manual load station, and that is the picture on the left is where you would imagine having the operator loading the loose pieces of metal into the operator station, and then they exit and the robot takes it from there into the cell. These are typically the cells that we have a lot of loose parts. where we depend on human dexterity to pick up the small parts from the bin and put in a tooling and then assemble. We also reserve the manual load if the parts are excessively big and we need the hoist to pick up that part from the rack and load into the station. So I would say in our facility, probably 2/3 of load stations are the one requiring the person to load the part. The second one, more advanced technology that we use is the robotic load station. These are, on the left side, you see the racks of a little bit larger parts that we package in customized racks. And then we have an ability to take those racks with the fork truck and deliver them directly in the station. And what happens in that case, now we've been doing that for a while. And here you're gonna see the example of we call it the 7-axis robot. Sometimes we even name them, believe it or not. Not all 1,200 of them. But this robot is then taking the part from the rack directly. We use what's called the 3D FANC vision, but every part, every robot move is pre-programmed by the programmer to get to the known position and then use the 3D vision to, when it's close to the part, to make any minor offsets to ensure the right pick. And again, the robot picking is something we've been doing now for quite a long time and we are good at it. The star of my show today is the robot bin pick technology. So this is the one where now we are talking about the loose small parts in the basket that we can pick up with the robot without having to have a specific dunnage. This is the one that 2 years ago we would require the manual pick by the operator and placing it in the station. What enables that is the ability that we have a processor that houses all the AutoCAD and math data for the part itself, for the bin that it's picking up from, and from robotic end of the arm tooling, which can be either the gripper or a suction cup or a magnet. And the software is the one that then calculates for the robot what it can be picked up. So that's the robot computer at the station. The next step is the robot is requiring from the station to take the image. The very top camera here on the screen, we call it the Kiosk, is our preferred company providing the highly sophisticated 3D camera images. So once the robot requests the image, the camera is taking the image, and on the far left side, you are seeing the top view now of the bin, where thanks to the software and all that math data, the software algorithm assesses which parts the robot can pick and assigns the probability on next to each purple dot is a probability, what's the most likely and best path for the robot to pick. And from there, it's like a menu for the robot. From there, the robot goes, picks up the part, and it has several options. Once the part is picked, the part is presented to another 2D cameras just to make sure the orientation of the part is sound. And then we put that part in a qualifying box, which is nothing else than just repeatable tooling. So when the part goes to the remainder of the process build, then it's picked up by the regular robots who are not as smart as this one. So this is something the closest to the AI in the robotic space that we have today, because all the other robots that we have, you have to pre-program the path by the robot programmer. Here, the software and algorithm gives the options, several options to the robot to pick the parts. And how does that look in a real life? Here we have an example where the robot is picking the part from the bin that we deliver in the material flow rack to the station. The same steps occur. The camera takes the image, scans the top view. Robot says, oh, I have so many parts I can pick, grabs it, presents it to the 2D camera, and then goes to the qualifying buck. The even neater part of this application is that the robot knows once the bin is empty, and it can take the bin and put it on the top row where that empty bin goes back to the a replenishment with a material driver. There is a ton of application of this technology, and again, this is about 2 years in our, I'll mistake corrected, it's about a year in our facility, and we were able to convert 7 different stations to the robotic bin picking. And we are excited to do this more. And the one that is probably the most complex robotic bin pick is the one that has 2 different tooling at the end of the arm. And you're gonna see in a moment, the same images is gonna take, what you just saw there, this is a neat thing. If you ever ask yourself, if the camera takes an image and for whatever reason there is nothing to be picked from, let's say there is nothing that is optimum for a robot, we have a mechanics to shuffle the parts in the bin so we have another chance to take an image. And that's what you just saw there. Here, this robot has 2 pieces of tooling, has a gripper and has a magnet to pick up 2 parts, again presented to the 2D camera to validate orientation, and from there take it to the qualifying part. So, extremely exciting for us manufacturing geeks. Offers us a lot of opportunity to continually improve. It always starts with improving the safety of our operators, but then repeatability of our process. You can imagine how this drives a lot of repeatability, and the repeatability drives the quality of the product that we put out. And lastly, but not least, is it drives the efficiency of our footprint. And that, quite honestly, that in our space, that is also a critical thing that we have to stay competitive. The one thing, we look at this and say, hey, the future is bright, that the technology in the manufacturing space offers us a lot of solutions, and that's what we are seeing coming at us, that a lot of hard perennial problems that we had in the past, now we are coming up with the technological solutions. So we are excited about it. But what I want to leave you with, as someone who has spent in a manufacturing for the last 25 years in this manufacturing space, is that unfortunately, the innovation in itself, it's not a straight line. It's usually a very, very windy road, and more often than not, you're gonna encounter a lot of headwinds. Whether that is just the inherent human resistance to change and wanting to stay with the comfortable and unknown, whether it's if you and your organization have a stamina to do a trial and error till you get it right, or simply the capital and time investment to do innovation, it's a hard road. But on a plus side, once you get it right, and when you are on the other side, the effect of that innovation is really empowering. It does breed excitement, and it drives you for wanting more. So if you are sitting here today and you tell to yourself, you don't necessarily have a knack for innovation, or maybe you are not born with that innovation gene, and it can happen, I would just ask you to look around you in your organization, who is that person that does have it? And then where possible, offer them your support and platform so they can take you on that journey, because it is an exciting one. So with that, thank you.
Incredible to think that's happening right here in Spring Hill, and how much, 2 years, and we've seen it in action on the battery side of the plant. It's interesting to see the assembly line and then go to the battery side of the plant, and it's robots compared to humans, and the engineers that are on standby to make sure the robots are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It just really opens your eyes to what the future is going to hold in manufacturing and beyond. So thank you so much for sharing those. Those videos are really neat, but it is really cool to see in person if you ever get the opportunity to do it. So with that, we're going to close up. I definitely want to give a shout out to Thompson Station Church for allowing us to be here, and the hospitality that they gave us, Premier Design Build for the sponsorship. But yeah.